part of what we have to deal with is the reality of not having the time to publish. Unfortunately, you can get all these books like write any book in 28 days. I mean, it's just nonsense. 29 days maybe. No, I'm just joking. But we have to find ways of creating space for publishing. So some of my colleagues who were visiting recently from the UK said, the first thing you must say when you say, I don't have time to publish, is you must say, I do not make publishing a priority. And that actually, if instead of saying I don't have the time, you're saying I don't make it a priority, sort of changes things internally. But the reality is, I'm sure lots of you have got lots of teaching and you've got family demands and so on and so forth. So part of what we have to do is we've got to build in ways of making publishing possible. And saying to yourself, do you know these ones? I can't start writing until I have a free week. I can't start writing until my kitchen is clean. I can't start writing until I can't start. We all know that. That is very good, but those are all delay tactics. That's all, and we've just got to get rid of it. I choose not to write until my kitchen is clean, and I hope my kitchen is never clean because then I'm never going to have to write. There are many ways to avoid writing. One of them is to keep going to courses that tell you how to write. Because then I don't have to write. I'll just go to a course that tells me how to write, and then an advanced, and then a super advanced, and then a spectacular. Okay, no. You actually have to write. So there's only one way to learn to write, and that's to write. You've got to get into the habit somehow of writing. Now, what people who teach creative writing often recommend is what they call morning pages. This doesn't suit everyone. It absolutely suits me. You get up 10 or 15 minutes before you normally would get up. Does that sound doable? That's not a lot. Okay, already we're hearing the hollow laugh. Okay, bear with me. Often it'll be before, particularly those who have care responsibilities. You've got parents to care for and children to care for and relatives and so on. Often before other people. How many of you have got laptops? Have you all got laptops? You see, that's amazing. In my day, we didn't even have computers. It makes a huge difference. Sit down at your laptop and you write for 15 minutes. I don't care what you write. You can write, I am sitting at this laptop. I don't know why I'm here. There is a bug on the wall. I hate the person who suggested this. I don't care but you sit there for 15 minutes and you write. This is what my shopping list is going to be. Here's my recipe. I don't care. What you will find is a number of things. You will be desensitizing yourself. You'll be getting used to, you'll be making friends with your computer. You'll be making friends with your chair. Remember the PhD, the art of the seat of the pants attaching itself to the seat of the chair. And you will find actually quite quickly you get bored of writing boring things and you'll start writing. Yeah?
Just wondering, does writing not go with reading?
Yes. Yes. Yes, you have to read, but I'm glad that you asked that. We were going to talk about this later, but it's also good. Of course you have to read. But for many, many academics, reading is a defense against writing. So, I can't write this until my kitchen's clean. A more sophisticated version is, I can't write this until I've read the following 79 books. I'm just going to read this one. All right, now I'm going to write. Well, I think I'll just read something because it's easier. Okay, so be careful of that. And actually, I've got a bad reputation with my students. I always say, write your literature review before you've read anything. But and of course you can't. But I'll tell you, it's about taking authority of the writing. If reading, if you're reading passively and you're reading it to avoid writing, you're not structuring anything. There are a million more enjoyable things than writing. Eating is much more fun than writing. So part of what you do, and the more you avoid, the bigger the block gets. So it's exactly like the way a phobia develops. You quite scared of a dog or something like that, and so you avoid one particular dog, and that makes you feel better. So then you avoid more dogs, and that makes you feel better. And then you can't look at a picture of a dog it's maintained like a phobia. And the way that you deal with a phobia is through graded exposure. Your morning pages. No, absolutely. And boy, I get it at times. I mean, I love writing, but I have this horrible, don't think it doesn't happen to me, this horrible thing of not just feeling I can't get over this hump. Part of it actually is also the conflation of trying to write the beginning of what you're doing at the beginning of your writing. It will often take me as long to write the first paragraph that I write as the rest of the article. Start where it's easy to write. So often write your results, often if you've collected data, because you know that you're on top of the, and I will often write the introduction last because it's actually the most complicated. It doesn't matter where you start, start doing the mundane things, and we'll talk about that also later when we talk about how to deal with reviewers. Avoidance is the absolute enemy of everything, but of writing in particular. But there's a way of doing it where it actually doesn't cost money, and this really works. And this is called shut up and write. And you can do this with a group of people, particularly because you've all got laptops. It is much more easy, those of you who have very busy jobs. If you say, I'm going to set aside the following 2 hours to write on my own, somebody else in the department will say, I just need a minute of this, or the student needs this. There's always something. If in your diary, however, is I'm having a meeting with the following two people or 3 people or 5 people, and I can't let them down, you're more likely to show up. So what shut up and write is you all sit together. What we do is we do it in a nice coffee shop near the university. We sit around a big table, and for the 45 minutes we have a timekeeper. We write. And if you want to be doing your Facebook, that's your problem. You can do it and then the person calls time at 45 minutes, and then 15 minutes of serious gossiping, and talking rubbish. But make it fun, and drinking coffee if you can afford it. I mean, if and then carry on. If you commit yourself, if you say, look, I struggle to write, but my friend also struggles to write. Doesn't mean you don't even have to be working in the same field. And we pledge to each other, I will support you to write if you support me to write. And the way that I will support you to write is by showing up and writing. Not by being very nice and saying, oh, shame, or whatever. My way because that's the way to support other writers, is to sit with them and write. If you do that, you're more likely to show up, because if you're anything like me, your guilt at not supporting the other person will drive you much quicker than your own. So you make it a mutual thing. And writing is not a solitary activity, because that's part of the thing. Is you sit on your own, and it just gets eaten away by all sorts of more interesting, fun things to do. And it doesn't work for me anymore, but it used to work for me. Is I would say to people, I will have finished by such and such a date. I will have finished this. And I'm too embarrassed not to have done it. So the first time I got leave from the university I used to work with, I had a contract for my first book, and I knew I couldn't finish it in the time. So I put on the thing on my form for leave, I will finish the book in this time. I knew that if I went back to the university and I hadn't finished the book, I would never get leave again, and my colleagues would be laughing at me. He never finished his book. I finished the book. I don't know how I did it, but I finished it, because the humiliation was worse. You've got to make something that's worse than writing. And humiliation is sometimes worse than writing. Okay. Often people in the social sciences value writing alone. And I write some stuff on my own, but it's often much better if you're struggling to write. I mean, many of you have done this, to write with a team. You should do a combination, and you should make sure that sometimes you are first author for your career. But it's much better to, like there are 4 authors, to be one of 4 authors of something that's actually finished than you're 100% author of something that's never going to see the light of day. I had 2 students, one brilliant and one okay, in a year that I taught. And I said to them both, you must write up your research. And the really clever one said yes, no, they were going to write up their research. And they didn't need my help. I said, that's fine. I won't be a co-author. That's absolutely fine. Carry on. You're brilliant. Do it. And then the not so good one said, no, please, would I help? then you know the end of the story. The not so good one, he was the first author, I was the second author. It was published, it's quite highly cited, it's very well known. The very brilliant student's article never saw the light of day. A much better article, but you know, it's like they say with a PhD, the best PhD is a finished PhD. The best article is the one that has actually appeared.